Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session and looking at A New Wonder, A Woman Never Vexed by William Rowley, depending on your point of view, possibly in collaboration with Thomas Heywood, because everything has to be by Thomas Heywood. That's the law. Though the only name on the actual printing is William Rowley. And yes, so we're going to have a look at this reasonably chunky play. It was printed in 1632 and was written sometime before that. The dating range is relatively open, anywhere between 1611 and 1626. So you've got 15 years. You can slot it in where you like. Probably in the latter end of that date range, but we can't be certain. But otherwise, we have a play to get through, and we have a wonderful room of readers to take us through and see what happens. So, reading today, George and Widow is
Sarah Blake in The Hague.
Reading Brewen and Hugh is
Aliki in Athens.
Reading Robert is
Francis Cox, based in Amsterdam.
Reading The Clown is
Aaron, coming to you from the Pacific Northwest of the U.S.
Reading a Mistress of a Mistress. Is it Foster? I think it's Foster. Is
Sue from London.
Reading Stephen is
Lois in London.
Reading the Doctor and Jack is
Hey, Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Joan and Host is
Rachel in Canada.
And reading Old Foster and Dick, just coming online now, is
Hey, I'm Lynn. I'm also in the Northwestern United States. Kind of near Aaron.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally moving us forward. So let's find out what this play is doing. I do not see a prologue. That doesn't mean to say there wasn't a prologue, just nothing has survived with the text. Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Old Foster, Alderman Brewen, and two factors, Richard and George.
Has his hair, has his sweet breath, Master Brewen.
Your partner, sir.
Aye, and in good, I hope. This halcyon gale plays the lewd wanton with our dancing sails and makes them big with vaporous embryo.
'Tis no more yet, but then our fraught is full, when she returns laden with merchandise and safe delivered with our customage.
Such a delivery heaven sends us, but time must ripen it. Are our accounts made even?
To the quantity of a penny, if his agree with mine. What's yours, Richard? Richard.
Oh, have I not given out a Richard? I don't think I have.
You be Richard.
No, hang on. Yeah. No, I don't want to be Richard. You don't want me to be Richard. That'd be silly. I don't know why we're talking like this. Who's not in this scene? Alan, be Richard. Whoever Richard is.
£560. Read the gross sum of your broadcloths.
68 pieces at B, SS and 1, 57 at 1, SS and... Oh.
Just leave 19 ton.
As evenly we lay our bosoms as our bottoms, with love as merchandise, and may they both increase to the infinities.
Especially at home. That golden traffic, love, is scantier far than gold, and one mind of that more worth than 20 argosies of the world's richest treasure.
Here you shall dig,
Laying his hands on his breast.
and find your lading.
Here's your exchange, and as in love, so will participate in merchandise.
The merchant's casualty, we always venture on uncertain odds, although we bear hope's emblem, the anchor, with us. The wind brought it, let the wind blow it away again. Should not the sea sometimes be partner with us? Our wealth would swallow us.
A good resolve. But now I must be bold to touch you with somewhat that concerns you.
I could prevent you. Is it not my unthrifty brother?
Nay, leave out the adjective. Unthrifty, your brother, sir, 'tis he that I would speak of.
He cannot be named without unthrifty, sir. 'Tis his proper epithet. Would you conceit but what my love has done for him? So oft, so chargeable, so expensive. You would not urge another edition.
Nay, sir, you must not stay at quantity till he forfeit the name of brother, which is inseparable. He's now in Ludgate, sir, and part of your treasure lies buried with him.
I, by vulgar blemish, but not by any good account, let him howl. 'Tis the best stay he hath, for nothing but a prison can contain him, so boundless is his riot. Twice have I raised his decayed fortune to a fair estate, but with as fruitless charity as if I had thrown my safe landed substance back into the sea, or dressed in pity some corrupted jade. He would kick me for my courtesy. I am sure you cannot but hear what quicksands he finds out, as dice, cards, pigeonholes, and which is more, should I not restrain it, he'd make my state his prodigality.
All this may be, sir, yet examples daily show to our eyes that prodigals return at last, and the loudest roarer, as our city phrase is, will speak calm and smooth. You must help with hope, sir. Had I such a brother, I should think that heaven had made him as an instrument for my best charity to work upon. This is a maxim, sure, some are made poor, that rich men by giving may increase their store. Nor think, sir, that I do tax your labours and mean myself for to stand idly by, for I have vowed, if heaven but bless this voyage now abroad, to leave some memorable relic after me that shall preserve my name alive till doomsday.
Aye, sir, that work is good, and therein could I join with your good intents. But to relieve a waste good, a spendthrift.
Oh, no more, good sir.
Sirrah, when saw you my son, Robert?
Morning, sir. He said he would go visit his uncle.
I pay for their meeting, I am sure. That boy makes prize of all his fingers light upon to relieve his unthrifty uncle.
Does he rob? In troth, I commend him.
'Tis partly your fault, Sirrah, you see it, and suffer it.
Sir, mine's a servant's duty. His a son's. Nor know I better than how to express my love unto yourself than by loving your son.
By concealing of his pilferings?
I dare not call him so. As my said master, methinks 'tis far above my limits, either to check or to complain of him.
Gramercy, Dick, thou makest a good construction. And your son Robert a natural nephew's part to relieve his poor uncle.
'Tis in neither well, sir. For note but the condition of my estate. I am lately married to a wealthy widow, from whom my substance chiefly does arise. She has observed this in her son-in-law, often complains and grudges at it. And what foul broils such civil discords bring, few married men are ignorant of. Nay, will you see present proof of it?
And before we have present proof of the next unit of plot, I think we should talk about the unit of plot that has been explicated at a reasonable length. So we've had a bit of scene gathering business as they're about their work, and then into this problem of a son who's spending money on it. On potentially stealing money for the sake of a profligate uncle as well. So it's a complicated family. Some people who are obviously very hardworking and using their money well, and others who are less so. And the question of do you give them more good money after bad or bad money after good, and what's going on there. So it's a very family centric universe. I don't know how accurate the working practices for the 13th century are. I suspect they're probably more 17th century working practices, but let's not worry too much about about those details, unless anyone wants to bring them up. Thoughts in the room about this sort of info dumping that we've had here. Susan?
Whose child is this? Is this my child? I couldn't work it out. Whose son?
Robert.
Parents.
Oh. No, I take it it's old Foster's son.
Old
It's
Foster,
Robert.
yeah.
And he's
His
helping out
son
his uncle.
before he married me.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Or where the money comes from,
Yes.
but not the son.
Yeah. Or at least a
Thank you,
significant part
Aliki.
of the money comes from.
Yes. So yes. So you've got a son, but you've also got the elder brother of old Foster, who's also a profligate as well, or the son is enabling the spendthrift by buying him out.
What the hell do I get out of it?
Exactly. I mean, you're working hard. You've got a good business. And, these people are just spending all their time spending all money. I mean, isn't it? It's just awful. I mean, what are the youth like nowadays enabling elder brothers to waste your money? Families, eh? Families. That's currently my note for this story. Is families. What are you going to do with them? But yeah, we've had this little hint of the marriage, the new marriage, married into money, and that's not necessarily making him very happy. Let's see where this goes. This could be awkward. It could not be. Let's see what happens where we have the entrance of Mistress Foster.
Shall I not live to breathe a quiet hour? I would I were a beggar with content, rather than thus be thwarted for mine own.
Why, what's the matter, woman?
I'll rouse him up, though you regard not of my just complaints, neither in love to me, nor for preserving me from other injuries, both which you are tied to by all the rightful laws, heavenly or humane. But I'll complain, sir, where I will be heard.
Nay, thou'lt be heard too far.
Nay, sir, I will be heard. Some awkward star threw out's unhappy fire at my conception, and 'twill never quench while I have heat in me. Would I were cold, there would be bonfires made to warm and defame my death, would be a jubilee to some.
Why, sir, how should I minister remedy and not know the cause?
Mother of pearl, woman, show your husband the cause.
Had he been a husband, sir, I had no cause. So to complain, I threw down at his feet the subjection of his whole estate. He did not marry me for love's sake, nor for pity, but love to that I had. He now neglects the love he had before. A prodigal is suffered to lay waste those worldly blessings, which I enclosed long, intending for good uses.
That's my son.
Aye, thou knowest it well enough. He is the conduit pipe that throws it forth into the common shore.
And the other's my brother.
You may well shame, as I do grieve the kindred, but I'd make the one a stranger, the other a servant. No son nor brother, for they deserve neither of those offices.
Why, did I ever cherish him? Have I not threatened him with disinheritance for his disorder?
Why do you not perform it?
The other's in Ludgate.
No, he's in my house, approving to my face the charitable office of his kind nephew, who with his pilfering purloined from me has set him at liberty. If this may be suffered, I have no eyes to see.
Prithee, content thyself. I'll see a present remedy. Sirrah, go call him in. This worthy gentleman shall know the cause and censure for us both with equity.
Nay, good sir, let me not be so employed, for I shall favour one with pity, the other for your love's sake.
Enter Robert and Stephen Foster.
Now, sir, are all my words with you so light esteemed that they can take no hold upon your duty?
Misconstrue not, I beseech you.
Nay, he'll approve his good deeds, I warrant you.
And you, sir?
Well, sir?
I had thought you had been in Ludgate, sir.
Why, you see where I am, sir.
Why, where are you?
In debt, sir, in debt.
Indeed, that is a place you hardly can be removed from. But this is not a place fit for one in debt. How came you out of prison, sirrah?
As I went into prison, sirrah, by the keepers.
This was your work, to let this band-dog loose.
Sir, it was my duty to let my uncle loose.
Your duty did belong to me, and I did not command it.
You cannot make a separation, sir, betwixt the duty that belongs to me and love unto my uncle, as well you may bid me to love my Maker, and neglect the creature which he hath bid me to love. If man to man join not a love on earth, they love not heaven, nor him that dwells above it. Such is my duty, a strong correlative unto my uncle. Why, he's half yourself.
Believe me, sir, he has answered you well.
He hath not, worthy sir. But to make void that false construction, here I disclaim the title of a brother. And by that disclaim thou hast lost thy child's part. Be thou engaged for any debts of his in prison riot with him. My goods shall not purchase such fruitless recompense.
Then thou'rt a scurvy father and a filthy brother.
Aye, sir. Your tongue cannot defame his reputation.
Oh, but yours can, for all the city reports what an abominable scold he has got to his wife.
If e'er I know thou keep'st him company, I'll take my blessing from thee whilst I live, and that which after me should bless thy state.
And I'll proclaim thy baseness to the world. Ballads I'll make, and make 'em tavern music to sing thy churlish cruelty.
These are babbles.
Each festival day I'll come unto thy house, and I will piss upon thy threshold.
You must be out of prison first.
If ever I live to see thee Sheriff of London, I'll gild thy painted posts cum privilegio, and kick thy sergeants.
Nay, good uncle.
Why, I'll beg for thee, boy. I'll break this leg and bind it up again to pull out pity from a stony breast, rather than thou shalt want.
I do. Let him sear up his arm and scarf it up with 2 yards of rope. Counterfeit 2 villains. Beg under a hedge and share your bounty, but come not near my house. Nor thou in his company, if thou'lt obey. There's punishment for thee. For thee, there's worse. The loss of all that's mine, with my dear curse.
Hey, exit, leaving Stephen and Robert behind.
Churl, dog, you churlish, rascally miser.
Nay, good uncle, throw not foul language. This is but heat, sir, and I doubt not but to cool this rage with my obedience. But, uncle, you must not heap them such fuel.
Oh, coz, I grieve for thee, that thou hast undergone thy father's curse for love unto thy uncle.
That bond shall ne'er be cancelled, sir.
I pity that, i'faith.
Let pity, then, for me turn to yourself. Bethink yourself, sir, of some course that might befit your estate, and let me guide it.
A course, foot, I have it. A coz canst lend me 40 shillings. Could I but repair this old, decayed tenement of mine with some new plaister? For alas, what can a man do in such a sorry, this thing isn't moved. Such a case as this.
Aye, but your course, uncle.
Tush, leave that to me. because thou shalt wonder at it. If you should see me in a scarlet gown within the compass of a gold chain, then I hope you'll say that I do keep myself in good compass. Then, sir, if the cap of maintenance do march before me, and not a cap be suffered to be worn in my presence, pray do not upbraid me with my former poverty. I cannot tell. State and wealth may make a man forget himself, but I beseech you, do not. There are things in my head that you dream not of. Dare you try me, coz?
Why, 40 shillings, uncle, shall not keep back your fortunes.
Why, gramercy, coz. Now, if the dice do run right, this 40 shillings may set me up again. To lay it on my back and so to pawn it, there's ne'er a damned broker in the world will give me half the worth on it. No, whilst 'tis in ready cash, that's the surest way. 7 is better than 11. Hawks take the bones, and they will not favour a man sometimes.
Look you, uncle, there's 40 shillings for you.
As many good angels guard thee as thou hast given me bad ones to seduce me. For these deputy devils, damn worse than the old ones. Now, coz, pray listen. Listen after my transformation. I will henceforth turn an apostate to prodigality. I will eat cheese and onions and buy lordships. And will you not think this strange?
I am glad you're merry, uncle, but this is fixed betwixt an uncle and a nephew's love. Though my estate be poor, revenue scant, whilst I have any left, you shall not want.
Why, gramercy, by this hand, I'll make thee an alderman before I die, if you but follow my steps.
And they exit. Okay, it's this scene has got me very interested. I'm really engaged in the question of this play, actually, because on a simple level, I think we're probably supposed to go, oh, the young nephew, the son, and the uncle, and aren't they fun? But I'm actually sort of very engaged on the other side of going, you know what, these people are clearly a nightmare. And actually, how do you deal with people like this? And okay, it maybe seems like a bit harsh to say no. Okay, we're casting you out into an outer darkness, etc. But we haven't really necessarily fully engaged with the other side of that particular conversation. And it's this question of how much is Robert being led, because Robert doesn't seem like he's got any malice in him. Is he being led by stupidity to be nice to his uncle, or is it obviously just his filial connections and that sort of logic? So there's lots going on in this scene, and I think Aliki put it in the chat. It's really awkward when you're watching a family having an argument, especially Brewen's situation in that scene of just going, I don't want to get involved, and everyone else going, we don't want to get involved, we like everyone, stop arguing, and that's really interesting. So I'm really interested about what this scene is doing. Lynn?
Yeah, I think we can't, I know I can't help responding to this as a modern, moderately educated person, where I'm thinking, people with Stephen obviously has what we would call an addiction problem. He's a compulsive gambler. He might be an alcoholic. And enabling people like that is not necessarily healthy. I mean, we have a kind of a different model of human psychology than they did in this period. And this, of course, is drama. It's fiction. So, and in drama, the prodigal always reforms. So, what we know about the genre and what we know about human behavior are kind of telling us different, would tend to evoke different responses. So it's kind of hard to know how to engage with this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think also just with the way of how do you engage with Mistress Foster, because I think the play generically is trying to push us into a certain idea of who she is, but actually in terms of the way that she's actually coming across. She's got a perfectly legitimate grievance.
Yeah.
I've given you all this money, and your family are eating it all. And hang on, whereas you get the impression the play is probably trying to push you in the direction of going, well, that she's being unreasonable, and whereas actually she's come across perfectly reasonable to me. And that's an interesting question. I mean, maybe the play isn't doing that, and we're just assuming that an early modern play is going to be doing that, and actually it's not quite doing that. So I think there's a lot of give to this scene as to what's going on. Susan?
I think I'd like to know what Old Foster is, because interestingly enough, Lois, we were just talking about the Sir John Soanes Museum, and he was a great architect, but he came from absolutely nothing. And his sons did not want to be architects, much to his chagrin, and they also were boom and bust, and he was always getting them out of debtor's prison, and in the end left the collection to the nation rather than his children. Maybe I think I'd like to know if maybe why has she married this man. Maybe he is something of interest. There's got to be some reason why she would take on. Maybe he's a
Well, I mean, he's a merchant of some description. I'm not quite sure. So, he's in business. And it's also a question of what kind of money is she bringing into the relationship? Where is her money coming from? Because there may be a class distinction difference going on here between trade and things. Yeah. I don't get that impression from her character, but again, we haven't really had that many biographical clues from this. We've had a situation with people interacting, but they're not doing an awful lot of backstory apart from these guys are profligate and they're eating our money. So there are some details. There are a few clues early on, but I don't think that they're not absolute in the way that maybe we would like.
If it was staged, I think I'd want to know. Maybe they lived in something amazing. Maybe it was,
Yeah, absolutely. We would need to make those decisions.
Old
there may
and
be
new
clues.
money.
There may be clues later on in the text as well that will give us something to hair down. Francis?
Yeah, I think Old Foster is a trader because they were talking about ships in the opening part of the play. And there was also that analogy between marine trade and love, I think.
Yeah. And that question of what makes a good match, and how you and of course being a merchant using ships is of course very potentially the rewards are massive, but the risks are enormous as well.
He talks about how that it's a risky.
So maybe in that sense, the widow's money is his new wife's money is useful because it affects his cash flow. Lois.
Yeah, I get the impression that Old Foster and Brewen are pillars of society, and I think they're both thinking of doing something, some memorable thing like founding a hospital, or I don't know what they've got in mind. And it's possible, of course, that Mistress Foster was attracted to their the sterling character. They also seem the old guys to be very fond of each other. There's that I think something about a kind of exchange of love, or and then the problem is this money just sort of running down the drain through Stephen's behavior.
And enabled by Robert as well. I mean, that's the problem, is that the Robert is maybe thinks he's doing something noble and great, and going, look, but we love him. Is our uncle great? And he's going, yeah, I grew up with him. He's not going to change. Even though we get these clues in this aside, these things that he's telling Robert, oh, I've got a cunning plan. This is all going to turn out well. And the question is, it's a place. There's part of me going, maybe he does. Maybe this is all, but it also feels like he's just Trotter's independent traders sort of logic of just it's a scheme and it's all going to go nowhere and fail. Aliki?
Basically, of course, business is a scheme as well, or a gamble. And I think the way that it starts with them with Brewen and Old Foster talking about a ship that's bound to come in and make them even richer, sets us up for the possibility that ship will be lost and its cargo with it.
Yeah, the wings of fate, or the wheel of fate is fickle and turns and all sorts. It's loaded with potential. I like the detail of the scene. So let's find out where we go as we go to a different unit of action. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter Widow and Clown.
Sarah, will the churchman come I sent you for?
Yes, mistress, he will come. But pray, resolve me one thing for my long service. What business have you with the churchman? Is it to make your will, or to get you a new husband?
Suppose to make my will. How then?
Then I would desire you to remember me, mistress. I have served you long, and that's the best service to a woman. Make a good will if you mean to die, that it may not be said, though most women be long-lived, yet they all die with an ill will.
So, sir, suppose it be for marriage.
Why then, remember yourself, mistress. Take heed how you give away the head. It stands yet upon the shoulders of your widowhood. The loving, embracing ivy has yet the upper place in the house. If you give it to the holly, take heed, there's pricks in holly. Or if you fear not the pricks, take heed of the wands. You cannot have the pricks without the wands. You give away the sword and must defend yourself with the scabbard. These are pretty instructions of a friend. I would be loath to see you cast down and not well taken up.
Well, sir, well, let not all this trouble you. See, he's come. Will you be gone?
Enter Doctor.
I will first give him a caveat, to use you as kindly as he can. If you find my mistress have a mind to this coupling at Barley Break, let her not be the last couple to be left in hell.
Why, would I knew your meaning, sir.
If she have a mind to a fresh husband or so, use her as well as you can. Let her enter into as easy bands as may be.
Sir, this is none of my traffic. I sell no husbands.
Then you do wrong, sir, or you take money for him. What woman can have a husband but you must have custom for him? And often the wear proves not worth the impost.
Your man's pregnant and merry, mistress.
He's saucy, sir. Sarah, you'll be gone?
Nay, at the second hand you'll have a fee too. You sell in the church, and they bring him again to your churchyard. You must have tollage. Methinks if a man die whether you will or no, he should be buried whether you would or no.
Nay, now you wade too far, sir.
You'll be gone, Sarah.
Mistress, make him your friend, for he knows what rate good husbands are at. If there hath been a dearth of women of late, you may chance pick out a good prize, but take heed of a clerk.
Will you yet, sir, after your needless trouble? Be gone, and bid the maids dress dinner.
Mistress, 'tis fasting day today. There's nothing but fish.
Let there be store of that. Let bounty furnish the table, and charity shall be the voider. What fish is there, sirrah?
Marry, there is salmon, pike, and fresh cod, soles, maids, and plaice.
Bid him haste to dress 'em then.
Nay, mistress, I'll help 'em too. The maids shall first dress the pike and the cod, and then I'll dress the maids in the place you wot on.
And exit Clown after what was, I'm sure, a very useful element of the scene to be discussed later.
Send for me, what gentlewoman?
Sir, I did. And to this end, I have some scruples in my conscience, some doubtful problems which I cannot answer nor reconcile. I'd have you make them plain.
This is my duty. Pray you, speak your mind.
And as I speak, I must remember heaven that gave those blessings which I must relate. Sir, you now behold a wondrous woman. You only wonder at the epithet. I can approve it good. Guess at mine age?
At the halfway twixt 30 and 40.
'Twas not much amiss, yet nearest to the last. How think you then? Is not this a wonder? that a woman lives full 37 years, maid to a wife, and wife unto a widow, now widowed and mine own, yet all this while, from the extremest verge of my remembrance, even from my weaning hour unto this minute, did never taste what was calamity? I know not yet what grief is, yet have sought 100 ways for its acquaintance. With me, prosperity hath kept so close a watch that even those things that I have meant to cross have that way turned out a blessing. Is it not strange?
Unparalleled. This gift is singular, and to you alone belonging. You are the moon, for there's but one. All women else are stars, for there are none of like condition. Full oft and many have I heard complain of discontents, thwarts, and adversities, but a second to yourself I never knew, to groan under the superflux of blessings, to have ever been alien unto sorrow. No trip of fate? Sure, 'tis wonderful.
Ay, sir, 'tis wonderful. But is it well? For it is now my chief affliction. I have heard you say that the child of heaven shall suffer many tribulations. Nay, kings and princes share them with their subjects. Then I, that know not any chastisement, how may I know my part of childhood?
'Tis a good doubt, but make it not extreme. 'Tis some affliction that you are afflicted, for want of affliction. Cherish that, yet rest it not to misconstruction. For all your blessings are free gifts from heaven, health, wealth, and peace, nor can they turn to curses by abuse. Pray, let me question you. You lost a husband. Was it no grief to you?
It was, but very small. No sooner I had given it entertainment as a sorrow, but straight it turned unto my treble joy. A comfortable revelation prompts me then. That husband, whom in life I held so dear, had changed a frailty to unchanging joys. Methought I saw him stellified in heaven, and singing hallelujahs mongst a choir of white-sainted souls. Then again it spake, and said it was a sin for me to grieve at his best good, that I esteemed best, and thus this slender shadow of a grief vanished again.
All this was happy, nor can you wrest it from a heavenly blessing. Do not appoint the rod, leave still the stroke unto the magistrate. The time is not past, but you may feel enough.
One taste more I had, although but little, yet I would aggravate to make the most on't. Thus 'twas. The other day it was my hap in crossing of the Thames to drop that wedlock ring from off my finger that once conjoined me and my dead husband. It sank. I prized it dear. The dearer, 'cause it kept still in mine eye the memory of my loss. Yet I grieved less the loss, and I did joy withal that I had found a grief. And this is all the sorrow I can boast of.
This is but small.
Nay, sure, I am of this opinion, that had I suffered a draught to be made for it, the bottom would have sent it up again. I am so wondrously fortunate.
You would not suffer it?
Enter clown in a moment.
Not for my whole estate.
But before we let the clown say any more, but we'll hold on to the thought of the ring. It's important. But the clown possibly less so. So less a merry widow, more a lucky one. Though perfectly happy. So yeah, again, there's an awful lot of info dumping going on here. But yeah, the clown bit at the beginning of the scene. Did he serve any meaningful function? Because it's like the doctor. The moment the clown went, the doctor said, "You said for me, gentlewoman," and it's like, yes, let me explain why. And it's like any information that I felt the clown or the mistress, the widow, sort of set up in that opening didn't add to a hill of beans. Aliki, then Lynn, and then Aaron, then Susan.
The clown seemed to just be there to make dirty jokes, and they weren't even very good dirty jokes.
Yeah, and I mean, it might be the way he told them, because I'm assuming it's William Rowley has probably written himself his own gags, and that he knows how to play this. He knows his audience. It's fine. It's just 400 years have passed, and please, dear God, do something better. And yeah, Lynn.
Yeah, what Aliki said, that whole exchange felt really forced and unfunny.
Aaron.
I was just going to say, you asked, does it do anything important? I said, yes, it introduces the clown. That's what it does. We're going to have a clown, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to show up every once in a while. Look, he works for this lady. Yeah. That's pretty much its entire job.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Susan, then Francis, then Sarah.
Yeah, I think it was, it's written for a particular actor. And I thought that was the most gorgeous scene. And Sarah, for those of us that teach, I think that is a fantastic two-handed scene to set young actors. It's wonderful. A simple premise, but how you play it, it was fabulous. Thank you.
Francis.
Actually, Sarah was before me.
Oh, well, Sarah.
Thank you, Francis. You're such a gent. I was just going to say that I got strong Frankie Howard vibes during that section with the clown. And I mean, I have a feeling, I don't know because I've never done it, but I have a feeling that if you wrote down Frankie Howard's jokes, his little monologues, they probably wouldn't read on the page as that funny. Really, his jokes are not really funny. It's not about what he's saying. It's about him and the way he says it and the way he, draw. I'm so tempted to go. No, I'm not going to start doing my Frankie Howard impression. But no. I have a feeling it's maybe a bit like that. You said he probably wrote it for himself. It's probably all about the delivery with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way that Frankie Howard, he would write in all the little oohs and the ahs and the things and the no, that was in the script. I mean, I'm sure he did a certain amount of improvisation around it, but that was all part of the shtick, and he knew how to write it for himself. Francis.
Well, first off, I think we have to explain to our Northeast American cousins who Frankie Howard is and who Trotter's independent traders are as well. But moving on, I also think the clown also serves to make some jokes about and digs about the corruption of the clergy.
Yeah. And setting up this doctor figure who is there similarly to do exposition dialogue. Yeah. I mean, this scene is very exposition heavy. I mean, it's still moderately entertaining, but it is there's an awful lot. You can hear the playwright going, I need to get this information in a two-handed scene. And we had a bit of that in the first scene, but the first scene was sort of more populated and it was more of a family drama. With this one, I kind of can see the wheels turning. Aaron, then Lois.
The early jokes, the wands and the pricks and so on, I thought were clunky, but I actually thought he was getting somewhere with the whole you're the doctor and the churchman, like you're the one who determines, basically you're the one who determines who lives or dies, and everybody has to pay you for a place in this. I thought they were starting to get a little bit better there. I know the early and stuff was not great, but it was trying to make witty commentary.
Lois.
Yeah, she starts by saying she wants to make her will and he wants to be remembered in it. And I don't know, to me, one of the odd things about this is the fairly explicit religious tone of it, which, given the anxiety about talking about religion on the stage, I thought was rather striking. I mean, the widow is actually quite worried, apparently, about the state of her soul, even because she hasn't had enough misery in her life. And in some ways, it's quite a funny situation with the doctor, who is clearly not a medical doctor, but a clergyman, saying, just it'll probably come soon enough. Don't decide how to do it. Also, the bit about the ring, this is clearly going to be the story of the ring of Polycrates, and I know how it goes, and so does anybody else who knows about that.
Yes. no spoilers. It will be revealed any second now. Where the One Ring to rule
yes,
them all.
I can see it is. Yes.
Will come in here. But anyway, but we're setting up this idea that she's unbelievably lucky, and that she's quite worried about this. That this is asking for trouble. That the world is going to punish you, if you're getting away with so much loveliness. Very briefly, Sarah, and then we're moving on.
Am I the only person who thought she was a little bit psychopathic?
Yes. Explain. Show your workings, please, Sarah.
Because she's like, yeah, I've had such good luck my whole life, and he's like, you did lose your husband. Were you not grieving for him? She was like, yeah, no, not really. Because I had this religious vision, and he's up with God, so I don't need to worry about him. I just think you could play her. I'm not saying it's the correct way to play her, but I'm just saying you could take her down a slightly scary route if you wanted to.
Okay, nighty night time. Susan.
This is why I think this is a jewel of a scene, because high comedy comes from characters having a very clear actions, and they're so odd, her actions. I think this could be the funniest scene. Just my actors sense that because they're sort of clashing so brilliantly. I think there's lots of comedy to get out of it.
Okay, let's see where this goes. So the widow's just been relating how everything, the only bad thing that's happened to her is she lost her wedding ring, and it's very, very sad. Enter clown, shouting.
Oh,
Mistress!
Sorry, I thought we were going.
I didn't know where we were picking up.
Yeah, sorry. I in my script I've just moved that stage direction because it was clearly in the wrong place. So that wasn't very helpful, was it? Because you couldn't see that. But it's great in my script. It's really good now. Anyway, clown, say your entering speech as you enter.
Oh, mistress, where are you? Oh, I think you are the fortunatest woman that ever breathed on two shoes. The thief is found.
The thief? What thief? I never was so happy to be robbed.
Oh, bring him away, Jug. Nay, you shall see the strangest piece of felony discovered that ever you saw, or your great-grandmother's grandam before or after. A pirate, a water thief.
What's all this?
Bring him away, Jug, yet the villain would not confess a word till it was found about him.
I think the fellow's mad.
Did you not lose your wedding ring the other day?
Yes, sir, but I was not robbed of it.
No.
Enter Joan with a fish.
No, well, thank him that brings it home then, and will ask nothing for his pains. You see this salmon?
Yes. What of it?
It cost but 6 pence, but had the fisher known the worth of it, 'twould have cost you 40 shillings. Is this not your ring?
The very same.
Your maid Joan, examining this salmon that she bought in the market, found that he had swallowed this gudgeon.
How am I vexed with blessings? How think you, sir? Is not this above wonder? First, that this fish should snatch it as a bait, then that my servant needs must buy that fish mongst such infinities of fish and buyers. What fate is mine that runs all by itself in unhappy happiness? My conscience dreads it. Would thou hadst not swallowed it, or thou not bought it.
Alas, blame not the poor fish, mistress. He, being a phlegmatic creature, took gold for restorative. He took it fair, and he that gets gold, let him eat gold.
Nothing can hinder fate.
Seek not to cross it, then.
About your business, you have not pleased me in this.
By my maidenhead, if I had thought you would have taken it no kindlier, you should ne'er have been so vexed with the sight on it. The garbage should have been the cook's fees at this time.
Exit Joan.
Now do I see the old proverb come to pass. Give a woman luck and cast her into the sea. There's many a man would wish his wife good luck on that condition. He might throw her away so. But, mistress, there's one within would speak with you that vexeth as fast against crosses as you do against good luck.
I know her sure, then. 'Tis my gossip, Foster. Request her in. Here's good company, tell her.
I'll tell her so for my own credit's sake.
Exit clown.
Yon shall now see an absolute contrary. Would I had changed bosoms with her for a time, 'twould make me better relish happiness.
Enter Mistress Foster and Clown.
Oh, friend and gossip, where are you? I am o'erladen with my griefs, and but in your bosom I know not where to ease me.
I had rather help you to a close stool, an it please you.
Ne'er had woman more sinister fate. All ominous stars were in conjunction even at my birth, and do still attend me.
It is contrary indeed.
What ails you, woman?
Unless 7 witches had set spells about me, I could not be so crossed. Never at quiet, never a happy hour, not a minute content.
You hurt yourself most with impatience.
Aye. Physicians minister with ease, although the patient do receive in pain. Would I could think but of one joyful hour.
You have had 2 husbands to my knowledge, and if you had not one joyful hour between both, I would you were hanged, i' faith.
Full 14 years I lived a weary maid, thinking no joy till I had got a husband.
That was a tedious time indeed.
I had one love me well, and then ere long I grew into my longing peevishness.
There was some pleasure ere you came to that.
Then all the kindness that he would apply, nothing could please. Soon after it, he died.
That could be but little grief.
Then worldly care did so o'erload my weakness that I must have a second stay. I chose again, and there begins my grief to multiply.
Cannot be, friend. Your husband's kind.
A man of fair condition, well reputed.
But it may be he has not that should please her.
A peace, sirrah. How can your sorrows increase from him?
How can they buy but o'erwhelm me? He keeps a son that makes my state his prodigality. To him a brother, one of the city scandals, the one the hand, the other is the maw. And between both, my goods are swallowed up. The full quantity that I brought amongst them is now consumed in half.
The fire of your spleen wastes it. Good sooth, gossip, I could laugh at thee, and only grieve I have not some cause of sorrow with thee. Prithee, be temperate, and suffer.
'Tis good counsel, mistress. Receive it so.
Canst thou devise to lay them half on me, and I'll bear 'em willingly?
Would I could, that I might laugh another while. But you are wise to heed at others' harms. You'll keep you happy in your widowhood.
Not I, in good faith, were I sure marriage would make me unhappy.
Try. You shall not need to wish. You'll sing another song and bear a part in my grief's descant. When you're vexed at heart, your second choice will differ from the first. So oft as widows marry, they are accursed.
Aye, cursed widows are. But if they had all stiff husbands to tame 'em, they'd be quiet enough.
You'll be gone, sir, and see dinner ready.
I care not if I do, mistress, now my stomach's ready. Yet I'll stay a little and be but to vex you.
When go you, sirrah?
I will not go yet.
Thou makes me laugh at thee. Prithee, stay.
Nay, then, I'll go to vex you.
You have a light heart, gossip.
So should you, woman. Would you be ruled by me? Come, we'll dine together. After, walk abroad unto my suburb garden, where, if thou'lt hear, I'll read my heart to thee, and thou from thence shall learn to vex thy cares with patience.
And exit. The widow knows how to work the clown. Reverse psychology seems to be the way that works. The clown just constantly doing innuendo jokes over the thing. One of your husbands said something that might play or didn't, etc. Subtle stuff. But I think there is a good through line for the widow here. Is this constant obsession about something bad happening to her. I think that's almost where the pathology lies, isn't it? It's like, oh please, something awful must happen to me. My life is too. It's sort of a thing, a comment on privilege here, isn't it? That this person is just bad things happen to you. Why don't they happen to me? It's not fair. And it's like, that's not necessarily what Mistress Foster wants to hear, actually. Aaron, then Lois, then Sarah.
I kind of have a different opinion of I think the point is to establish this dynamic between the clown and the widow. I think that's why the whole thing is she's kind of a kooky woman who keeps this guy around because he makes her laugh with his stupid jokes and keeps things kind of fun and exciting, and it's fun to play with. I have a slightly different opinion about the first scene now, because I think it's meant more to kind of reflect her and who she keeps around her, and kind of how she, as you said, she wants something bad to happen to her. She's a little crazy, she's a little bit privileged, and she keeps this guy around because he would be tedious and annoying to anybody else, but she thinks he's funny. So that's the house that she has put together.
Lois.
Yeah, I mean, there is a verse from I think Birkenhead wrote a couple of decades later, comparing one dramatist with another, and says anyway, somebody is dull compared to thee, whose best wit lies in the lady's questions and the fool's replies. And I think the lady and the fool is a kind of trope in the drama of this period. I was thinking at one point that it seems odd for her to complain that she's never vexed when she's got this guy around, but I think, and he sees it as a kind of game that he's supposed to be vexing her. He does things that are supposed to vex her, but she's just amused by them. But I'm also very interested in the Ring of Polycrates story, because of course it's a pagan story initially, and Polycrates has been incredibly fortunate, and he's worried about it. He thinks the gods are bound to punish him for his good luck, so he throws the ring into the sea, and then it does turn up at dinner in the mouth of a fish. And I think the friend who's dining with him says, "I'm leaving, you're up, something horrible is bound to happen to you now." And in fact it does. Whereas here it's all put into this Christian context, and it's quite interesting to see how it's transformed.
Yeah, and I do love the way that she's so upset that the rings come back, and Joan just goes, "Oh, for God's sake!" I wouldn't have told you. I'd have kept it and pawned it, wouldn't I? And I think that again, that's speaking to the sort of the privilege situation here of the servants just going, "Oh, poor you." Cheers for that. So that dynamic I really like, and that's actually, it's the detail of these dynamics, these households that's interesting me here. Actually, I'm quite liking the fact that these households are full of people who have opinions, and they do express them, even within a social structure. Sarah, then Aliki, then Susan. Then we will move on.
Yeah, I'm sorry to harp on a theme, but the widow is definitely a bit psychotic. Like her friend turns up, who is genuinely beleaguered, bless her. She's got this feckless nephew stealing all this money and giving it to her feckless brother-in-law. I think, yeah, that's right, isn't it? And all she says is, "Oh, I could laugh at you. I'm only sorry I don't have such a cause of grief as you do. Now be patient and just suffer." And it's like, good Lord. I mean, I know you've got to set this in a Christian context or whatever, but seriously, she doesn't really. It's just like, oh, never mind, cheer up. It's like staggering privilege, and I'm like,
yeah,
she's definitely
I think
that's psychotic.
Yeah, no, she's entirely self-centered. I mean, in that sense, there is no filter on what's going on here. She doesn't seem to understand social situations very well. Aliki.
So I'm coming around to Susan's point of view about the comic potential of these scenes, because instead of seeing the widow as a psychologically realistic character who is psychotic, she would be in psychologically realist setup. I'm starting to see her as the foil, you know, the woman to whom everything terrible happens, the woman to whom nothing terrible happens, sort of balanced by this clown who keeps puncturing their attempts to talk about their lives with his dirty jokes. Yeah, I'm getting this.
Yeah, I think the situation is very strong. You know, it's a very schematic setup, but I'm liking it. It gives you a structure to work with. Susan.
Something in my head is thinking through this idea of the woman that has the clown, or are we allowed to say this? Like a cock blocker.
Yes, you can say that.
Can I say that? Good.
Yeah, you can say that. That's fine.
I mean, this is peace of mind for the woman who is having cocks blocked, whereas the other woman is having to deal with these three men, and you know, she's married to them, she's taking responsibility for them, so all of that is a lot of work, whereas our widow has peace of mind because she's got a clown who can do all the silly jokes and everything, and she can just have peaceful thoughts. That's just my little
yeah yeah, I mean
a lot to be said for a cock blocker, I say.
Okay, very briefly, Lois.
Yeah, well, just that you can see two things, two families heading towards each other. I mean, the woman who has lots of problems and would love to get rid of them, the woman who has no problems and would like to have some. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, and talking earlier about maybe she'll get married again. You know, that couldn't be a future plot line.
Don't do it.
No, can't see who she could possibly marry who may move the plot forward in an interesting fashion. Maybe we shall see. Okay, let's find out as we go into Act 2. I was about to say Act 2, Scene 1. I think it is the only scene of Act 2. So it's a chunky one. We may pause midway through occasionally. Enter host Boxall, Stephen, Jack, Dick, and Hugh.
Welcome still, my merchants of Bonasperanza. What traffic? What's your traffic, bullies? Where deal you in? Cards, dice, bowls, or pigeonholes? Sort 'em yourselves. Either passage, Novem or Mumchance. Say, my brave bursman, what's your recreation?
Dice, mine host. Is there no other room empty?
Not a hole unstopped in my house but this, my thrifts.
Miscall us not for our money, good mine host. We have none of your thrifts. We've escaped that scandal long ago.
Yes, his thrifts we are, Jack, though not our own.
Tush, you're young men. 'Tis too soon to thrive it yet. He that gathers young spends when he's old. 'Tis better to begin ill and end well than to begin well and end ill. Miserable fathers have, for the most part, unthrifty sons. Leave not too much for your heirs, boys.
He says, well, i' faith, why should a man trust to executors?
As good trust a hangman as to executors. Who's in the bowling alley, mine host?
Honest traders, thrifty lads, they are rubbing on it. Towardly boys, everyone strives to lie nearest the mistress.
Give us a bale of dice.
Here, my brave wags.
We fear no counters now, mine host, so long as we have your bale so ready. Come, trip.
Up with his heels.
Down with 'em.
Now the dice are mine. Set me now a fair board, a fair passage. Sweet bones, Freitas.
A noise below in the bowling alley of betting and wrangling. Rhubarb.
How now, my fine trundle tails, my wooden cosmographers, my bowling alley in an uproar? Is Orlando up in arms? I must be sticklier. I am constable, justice, and beadle in mine own house. I accuse, sentence, and punish. Have amongst you, look to my box, boys. He that breaks the peace, I break his pate for recompense. Look to my box, I say.
Exit host.
Pox are your box. I shall ne'er be so happy to reward it better. Set me fair. Aloft now!
The dice are thrown.
Out.
What was it?
2 trays and an ace.
7 still, Poxhunt. That number of the deadly sins haunts me damnably. Come, sir, throw!
Ready invoke not so. All sinks too fast already.
Oh, someone's muted, I think.
It will be found again in mine host's box.
The dice are thrown.
Still, 2 thieves and choose thy fellow.
Take the miller.
Have at me, faith.
Throws.
For a thief, I'll warrant you. Who'll you have next?
2 quats and a tray.
I hope we shall have good cheer when 2 catters and a tray go to the market.
Enter host.
So all's whist. They play upon the still pipes now. The bull beggar comes when I show my head. Silence is a virtue, and I have made 'em virtuous. Let 'em play still they be penniless. Pawn till they be naked, so they be quiet. Welcome and welcome.
And the entire cast has run upstairs in the backstage area so that we can have a noise above of the people playing at cards.
How now, my roaring Tamburlaine? Take heed, the Soldan comes. And 'twere not for profit, who would live amongst such bears? Why, Ursa Major, I say, what in Capite Draconis, is there no hope to reclaim you? Shall I never live in quiet for you?
Good mine host, still 'em. Civil gamesters cannot play for 'em.
I come amongst you, you maledictious slaves. I'll utter you all. Some I'll take ready money for and lay up the rest in stocks. Look to my box, I say.
Your box is like your belly, mine host. It draws all. Now, for a suit of apparel.
Throws the dice.
At whose suit I pay? You're out again with the 3s.
What? I think my father threw 3 when I was begotten. Foxhunt, I know now I am so haunted with 3s.
Why, I prithee?
I met the 3rd part of a knave as I came.
The 3rd part of a knave? So, what thing's that?
Why, a sergeant's yeoman man. The supervisor himself is but a whole one, and he shares but a groat in the shilling with him.
That's but a 3rd part indeed, because he no further.
No, he rests there.
Let's give o'er.
I thank you, sir, and so much a loser. There's but the waistband of my suit left now. Sweet bones.
And I assume that's where the
Well,
throwing
but-
happens.
Yeah.
12 at all.
Sir, this die is false.
False. You do him wrong, sir. He's true to his master.
Fulham.
I'll be hanged then. Where's Putney then, I pray you?
'Tis false, and I'll have my money again.
You shall have cold iron with your silver then.
I have at you, sir.
Enter host and young Robert Foster.
I think he's here, sir.
They draw their swords and fight. Young Foster assists his uncle and the host, and the cheats are beaten. Whilst they are fighting, the bowlers enter and steal away their cloaks.
I am sure he's now, sir.
Hold, and you be gentlemen, hold.
Get you gone, varlets, or there's hold to be taken.
Nay, sweet sir, no bloodshed in my house. I am lord of misrule. Pray you, put up, sir.
Mine.
But where are our clothes?
Your cloaks! Why, this is quarreling. Make after in time. Some of your own crew, to try the weight, has lifted them. Look out, I say.
There will ever be thieves in a dicing house till thou beest hanged, I'll warrant thee.
And there will pause as Jack, Dick, and Hugh exit. Quite confusing, the action towards the end there, but in performance, I'm sure it will be sorted out. For those interested in the gaming world of the early modern theatre, this is the kind of thing that's probably happening right outside of the theatre itself. This is where we anyone who's ever read Callan Davies' book, What is the Playhouse, will know this kind of thing. theatre areas are sort of entertainment complexes, and you will have things like bowling alleys and this kind of tavern activity happening all around the theatre district. So these kind of noises, it might almost be an in-joke of the kind of noises you might hear from outside of your particular playhouse you're playing in, and all of the material. It doesn't matter, I think, for a modern audience if you know precisely what the games they're playing, how it functions. But I think we all understand a gambling scene pretty well, and this is lively. There's so much good stuff in it. Aliki, then Susan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a lot of fun to workshop this little scene and figure out when the dice are thrown and what the bets are and what comes up when. And all I really gathered is that Hugh's doing really well and Stephen's losing. But
yes, and it's this question of, loaded dice and or better players and things, and what's going on there, and the Stephen is obviously in. Just terrible at this. Which and I love the hosts bit at the beginning. It's better to start badly and end well. This sort of Oh, sorry. Someone wanted to leap in on that one. Rachel.
And the host also, don't save your money for your heirs. Spend it here in my house of.
Yes.
So cute.
I'll go to Susan, then Lois, and then back to Aliki.
Yeah, it's very interesting playing these games in a play. In Les Liaisons Dangereuses, you have to learn Basique, which is a very particular card game, and it's very interesting because it goes with the Christopher Hampton's play, of course. And the other thing I want to say, Robert, you said that very fast. The name of the book and the writer.
Oh yes, sorry, I can do better.
The name of that book.
Yes, so this is What is a Playhouse?
What is a Playhouse?
What is a Playhouse by Callan Davies, and it's a very good book, and we're in no way sponsored or given any money to say that. It's just quite good.
By Callan Davies.
Yes,
okay.
published by Routledge, I believe. Anyway, so Lois.
Well, yeah, I was saying the host does sort of standard host type things. I mean, it's sort of character type, but he is quite fun. The other thing that surprised me was that it's really only in that stage direction that we're told that the cheats do what they were cheats.
Yes, they could just be people playing in a tavern, but that this is giving us a hint that there's some proper coney catching, conning going on here. That is attacking. That there is a system. Of which we could go into great detail about the way these kind of cons function. In this, I'm just assuming it's a loaded dice. I'm just assuming that's how it functions, and that they're swapping the dice around so that Stephen keeps drawing threes or a low score. Presumably, I'm assuming it's a high to low score ratio game of some description. Aliki.
So I noticed in that scene that both the host and Hugh swear by things that aren't normally sworn by. The host by the constellations and Hugh by the north wind in Greek. So I was wondering if is that a substitute for swearing by the god, which isn't allowed, or something like that?
I would suggest it is. Yes, it's from early James, basically swearing by God or heavens or anything like that has been these things have been substituted significantly. In older plays have it removed, and it's just generally no longer done. So by this point, yes, I think they're playing around with other alterations. It's like Battlestar Galactica. Everyone saying frack, and it's going, yeah, we know what you mean, because you're not allowed to say the naughty words, so you have to have a similarly structured alternative, like furking. We've had furking of late, so a lot of people furk. So and they enjoy it, and it makes them happy. Okay, let's move on. We're still mid-scene. A lot of chaos has happened. Some cloak stealing action. The stealing of the cloaks bit is actually quite difficult, I imagine, to make clear, but I think it's fine. We've all been to that kind of restaurant situation where you go for your coats and suddenly it's not there anymore. So exit Dick, Jack and Hugh, and Stephen is trying to get his stuff back.
Mine host, my cloak was lined through with orange tawny velvet.
How, your cloak? I ne'er knew thee worth one.
You're a company of coney-catching rascals. Is this a suit to walk without a cloak in?
Uncle, is this the reformation that you promised me?
Cos, shall I tell you the truth? I had diminished but 6 pence of the 40 shillings. By chance meeting with a friend, I went to a tailor, bargained for a suit. It came to full 40. I tendered my 39.5, and do you think the scabby-wristed rascal would not trust me for 6 pence?
Your credit is the better, Uncle.
Pox in him, if the tailor had been a man, I had had a fair suit on my back. So, venturing for the other tester...
You lost the whole bedstead.
But after this day, I protest, cos you shall never see me handle these bones again. This day I break up school. If ever you call me unthrift, after this day you do me wrong.
I should be glad to wrong you so, Uncle.
And what says your father yet, cos?
I'll tell you that in your ear.
Enter Mistress Foster, widow and clown.
Nay, I pray you, friend, bear me company a little this way, for into this dicing house I saw my good son-in-law enter, and 'tis odds but he meets his uncle here.
Cannot tire me, gossip, in your company. 'Tis the best affliction I have to see you impatient.
Aye, aye, you may make mirth of my sorrow.
We have hunted well, mistress. Do you not see the hares in sight?
Did not I tell you so? Aye, aye, there's good counsel between you. The one would go afoot to hell, the other to Horseway.
Mother, I am sorry you have trod this path.
Mother, hang thee, wretch, I bore thee not, but many afflictions I have borne for thee. Wert thou mine own, I'd see thee stretched a handful, and put thee a coffin into the cart ere thou shouldst vex me thus.
Were I your own, you could not use me worse than you do.
I'll make thy father turn thee out for ever, or else I'd make him wish him in his grave. You'll witness with me, gossip, where I found him.
Nay, I'll be sworn upon a book of calico for that.
I shall not need. I'll not deny that I was with my uncle.
And that shall disinherit thee. If thy father be an honest man, thou hadst been better to have been born a viper, and eat thy way through thy mother's womb into the world, than to tempt my displeasure.
Thou liest, Xantippe. 'T'had been better thou hadst been pressed to death under 2 Irish rugs than to ride honest Socrates, thy husband, thus, and abuse his honest child.
Ragamuffin, dost thou talk? I shall see thee in Ludgate again shortly.
Thou liest again. 'Twill be at Moorgate, Beldam, where I shall see thee in the ditch, dancing in a cutting stool.
I'll see thee hanged first.
Thou liest again.
Nay, sir, you do wrong to give a woman so many lies. She had rather have had twice so many standings than one lie.
I'll lie with him, I'll warrant him.
Oh, you'll be a whore then.
Little less, I promise you, if you lie with him.
If you complain upon mine honest cuz, his father be offended with him in the street, I'll dance in the dirt upon thy velvet cap. Nay, worse, I'll stain thy ruff. Nay, worse than that, I'll do thus.
Holds a wisp.
Oh, my heart! Gossip, do you see this? Was ever woman thus abused?
Methinks 'tis good sport, i' faith.
Aye, I am well recompensed to complain to you. Had you such a kindred, you
I would rejoice in't, gossip.
do so. Choose here, then. Oh, my heart. But I'll do your errand. Oh, and my nails were not pared, but I'll do your errand. Will you go, gossip?
No, I'll stay a while and tell him out with patience.
I cannot hold a joint still. Dost whisper me, thou Tendel Malian. I'll do your errands. If I have a husband, oh, that I could spit wildfire. Whack! My heart, oh, my heart, if it does not go pattle, pattle, pattle in my belly, I am no honest woman, but I'll do your errands.
Exit Mistress Foster.
Kind gentlewoman, you have some patience.
I have too much, sir.
You may do a good office and make yourself a peaceful moderator betwixt me and my angry father, whom his wife hath moved to spleen against me.
Sir, I do not disallow the kindness your consanguinity renders. I would not teach you otherwise. I'll speak with your uncle, sir, if you'll give me leave.
You may talk with me, sir, in the meantime.
And exit Robert with the clown, leaving Stephen and the widow.
With me, would you talk, gentlewoman?
Yes, sir, with you. You are a brave unthrift.
Not very brave neither, yet I make a shift.
When you have a clean shirt.
I'll be no pupil to a woman. Leave your discipline.
Nay, pray you hear me, sir. I cannot chide. I'll but give you good counsel. 'Tis not a good course that you run.
Oh, yet I must run to the end of it.
I would teach you a better, if you'd stay where you are.
I would stay where I am, if I had any money.
In the dicing house?
I think so, too. I've played at passage all this while. Now I'd go to hazard.
Dost thou want money? Thou art worthy to be tattered. Hast thou no wit, now thy money's gone?
'Tis all the portion I have. I have nothing to maintain me but my wit. My money is too little, I'm sure.
I cannot believe thy wit's more than thy money. A fellow so well limbed, so able to do good service and want.
Why, mistress, my shoulders were not made for a frock and a basket, nor a coal sack, no, nor my hands to turn a trencher at a table's side.
I like that resolution well. But how comes it, then, that thy wit leaves thy body unfurnished? Thou art very poor.
The fortune of the dice, you see.
They are the only wizards, I confess, the only fortune-tellers. But he that goes to seek his fortune from them must never hope to have a good destiny allotted him. Yet it is not the course that I dislike in thee, but that thou canst not supply that course, and outcross them that cross thee. Were I as thou art...
You'd be as beggarly as I am.
I'll be hanged first.
Nay, you must be well hanged ere you can be as I am.
So, sir, I conceit you. Were I as well hanged, then, as you could imagine, I would tell some rich widow such a tale in her ear.
Some rich widow? By this penniless pocket, I think 'twere not the worst way.
I'd be ashamed to take such a fruitless oath. I say, seek me out some rich widow, promise her fair, she's apt to believe a young man, marry her, and let her estate fly. No matter, 'tis charity. 20 to 1 some rich miser rigged it together. This is none of Hercules' labours.
Let me recount these articles. Seek her out, promise her fair, marry her, let her estate fly. But where should I find her?
The easiest of all. Why, man, they are more common than tavern bushes. 2 fairs might be furnished every week in London with them, though no foreigners came in, if the charter were granted once. Nay, 'tis thought, if the horse market be removed, that Smithfield shall be so employed. And then I'll warrant you 'twill be as well furnished with widows as 'twas with sows, cows, and old trotting jades before.
But if it were, I would be a chapman. I'd see for my pleasure and buy for my love. For money I have none.
Thou shalt not stay the market if thou'st be ruled. I'll find thee out a widow, and help in some of the rest too, if thou but promise me the last, but to let her estate fly, for she's one I love not, and I be glad to see that revenge on her.
Spend her estate. Were it 5 aldermans, I'd put you in security for that. But all my neighbours shall be bound for me. Nay, my kind sister-in-law shall pass her word for that.
Only this I'll enjoin you, to be matrimonially honest to her for your own health's sake. All other injuries shall be blessings to her.
I'll bless her then. I ever drank so much that I was never great feeder. Give me drink and my pleasure, and a little flesh serves my turn.
I'll show thee the party. What sayest thou to myself?
Yourself, gentlewoman. I would it were no worse. I've heard you reputed a rich widow.
I have a lease of thousands at least, sir.
I'll let out your leases for you if you'll allow me the power, I'll warrant you.
That's my hope, sir. But you must be honest with all.
I'll be honest with some. If I can be honest with all, I will too.
Give me thy hand. Go home with me. I'll give thee better clothes, and, as I like thee then, we'll go further. We may chance make a blind bargain of it.
I can make no blind bargain unless I be in your bed, widow.
No, I bar that, sir. Let's begin honestly, howe'er we end. Marry for the waste of my estate. Spare it not. Do thy worst.
I'll do bad enough, fear it not.
Come, will you walk, sir?
No, widow. I'll stand to no hazard of blind bargains. Either promise me marriage and give me earnest in a handfast, or I'll not budge a foot.
No, sir. Are you grown so stout already?
I'll grow stouter when I'm married.
I hope thou'lt vex me.
I'll give you cause, I'll warrant you.
I shall rail and curse thee, I hope. Yet I'd not have thee give over neither, for I would be vexed. Here's my hand. I am thine, thou art mine. I'll have thee with all faults.
You shall have one with some, and you have me.
And at this point enter Robert and the clown.
Here's witnesses. Come hither, sir. Cousin, I must call you shortly, and you, sirrah, be witness to this match. Here's man and wife.
I joy at mine uncle's happiness, widow.
I do forbid the banns. Alas, poor Shagrag, my mistress does but gull him. You may imagine it to be 12th day at night, and the bean found in the corner of your cake, but 'tis not worth a vetch, I'll assure you.
You will let me dispose of myself, I hope.
You love to be merry, mistress. Come, come, give him 4 farthings and let him go. He'll pray for his good dame and be drunk. Why, if your blood does itch that way, we'll stand together.
He places himself by the side of Stephen.
How think you? I think here is the sweeter bit. You see this knit and you see this louse. You may crack o' your choice if you choose here.
You have put me to my choice then. See, here I choose. This is my husband. Thus I begin the contract.
And she kisses Stephen.
'Tis sealed, I am thine. Now, coz, fear no black storms. If thy father thunder, come in me to shelter.
His word is now a deed, sir.
I thank you both. Uncle, what my joy conceives, I cannot utter yet.
I will make Black Monday of this, ere I suffer this disgrace. The kennel shall run with blood and rags.
Sir, I am your opposite.
I have nothing to say to you, sir. I aim at your uncle.
He has no weapon.
That's all one. I'll take him as I find him.
I have taken him so before you, sir. Will you be quiet?
Thou shalt take me too, so, Hodge, for I'll be thy fellow, though thy mistress's husband. Give me thy hand.
And exit the widow, Stephen, and Robert.
I'll make you seek your fingers among the dogs if you come to me, my fellow. You lousy companion, I scorn thee. Foot, is it come to this? Have I stood all this while to my mistress an honest, handsome, plain-dealing, serving creature, and she to marry a horse on Titire to Tatar, with never a good rag about him?
He draws his sword and puts his cap on the point of it.
Stand thou to me and be my friend, since my mistress has forsaken me.
Enter Robert.
How now? What's the matter?
'Twas well you came in good time.
Why, man?
I was going the wrong way.
But tell me one thing I apprehend not. Why didst lay thy cap upon the sword's point?
Dost not thou know the reason of that? Why, 'twas to save my belly. Dost thou think I am so mad to cast myself away for e'er a woman of 'em all? I'll see him hanged first.
Come, Roger, will you go?
Well, since there is no remedy, oh, tears, be you my friend.
Nay, prithee, Roger, do not cry.
I cannot choose. Nay, I will steep mine eyes in crying tears and crying weep.
And they exit. I've been slightly distracted during this scene, so I'll be slightly led by you, but I have a pretty good idea where most of it was going. But thoughts on the room, probably the better way to go. Lois.
Yeah, I think I know what was going on in that last bit, and I'm not sure if it was obvious, but I think when he gets to that bit, and since my mistress has forsaken me, I think he actually gets the sword as if he was going to stab himself with it, which is why Robert asks him, why did he put his cap on the sword's point? He says it was to save my belly. Dost thou think I'm so mad to cast myself away for e'er a woman of them all? I mean, that must mean that he was doing a sort of mock suicide scene. At least I don't know. Maybe if anybody's got a better idea.
No, I think that fits the logic of it. Of I'm going to do the gesture, but I'm not going to be so stupid as to make sure there's an actually exposed blade that will do me any harm. Aliki.
Yeah, so as we suspected, the widow has decided that her misfortunes lie in Stephen, and that's just delightful. Stephen takes a surprisingly long time to be talked around to this, but they finally make a match of it. Robert is happy. The clown, who Robert tells us, Robert, who apparently never met him before, I don't think, that his name is Roger. So suddenly we have a name for the clown. And he's terribly distraught. And I can't quite tell if this is real or not, or if he's just doing a bit. And if he's doing a bit, who is he doing it for, other than obviously the audience? Because everybody's gone when he starts doing his big, oh no, the woman has betrayed me. Here I am, so handsome and serving at her. Anyway.
Well, I mean, the clown's no fool, so he probably knows that his meal ticket may be severely depleted by marrying Stephen. So it's like, this is not good, because clowns, what do they think about? They think about food and sex. He's constantly talking about sex, but if this marriage goes badly, there might not be any food. And that's important. Susan, then Lois.
Well, this is the interesting thing. I think this is really rather astute about different forms of relationships. This is what happens when the cock blocker falls in love with the blocked. there is all these different forms of caring relationships that ensure that both parties feel safe. That's my little thought for the day.
Yeah. Lois?
Yeah, I think the clown's mock suicide scene is another classic trope, isn't it? I mean, the most famous example I can think of is in the Magic Flute, where Papageno does this sort of suicide thing at the end because he can't find Papageno, and then she appears. But I would guess that there are quite a lot of these. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting scene, actually quite fun.
Yeah, and this speaks to this question of tone and scale, because we're talking about if we're looking psychologically at this play, and I think we can look psychologically. I think that there's enough detail here for us to actually go into the psychology, but also it's really quite big, bold strokes all the way through as well. I mean, the way Robert behaves, I'm sort of just getting the impression that every time he walks on, he's just been hit on the back of the head with a brick, because he just sort of comes on and he's going, "Ooh, oh, uncle, have you spent all my money? Oh, this is... I'm very disappointed. Oh no, it's fine. Okay, you've explained it to me. And he doesn't seem desperately bright. And we're talking about the widow being possibly moderately psychotic. In the sense that she is so self-obsessed that she does. And the idea of going, "Oh, you're a disaster. I'll marry you," is a delightfully absurd concept. That I think this play is being very playful, but also grounding it to give us something to play with in something that is sort of believable and relationships that make sense. It's not just doing random things for the sake of doing random things, though it is doing some random things. It's managing to do those two things simultaneously. And we've only done 3 scenes. That's all. That's it. It's 3 scenes that we've covered all this material. And there's still room for this plot to expand, but we've got a plot already in motion where we're going, okay, we could see where some of this was going, but actually I'm not quite sure where it will go from this point onwards. There are several different avenues. Will the marriage be a disaster, or will it be just weirdly successful? What's going to happen with this marriage? Well, I mean, it's not. I'll go to Lynn, then I'll go to Susan.
Well, my guess is that the widow is going to marry the prodigal in an attempt to get some trauma in her life, her tribulation, because we all have to suffer. And then it's not going to work out. It's like her luck rubs off on him. All of a sudden, he's the winningest gambler in London, or he reforms or something. And I don't know how it's going to work out in the final analysis, but I'm guessing the next thing that happens is that she marries him to try to get some bad luck, but her good luck ends up rubbing off on him. So she kind of doesn't get what she married him.
Yes, and nobody say whether anyone who knows how this story ends. Say nothing. Susan.
I'm always fuss about men and women relationships and everything, but I think that the relationship between the widow and the mistress should have equal weight, because she is coming to the sisterhood is not being looked after quite as well as it should be, is it? There's something that I would want to explore, that pairing as much as all the others.
Yes, there is something interesting going on there, and the scene between the widow and Mistress Foster almost passes the Bechdel test. I mean, it's they are tangentially talking about men, but they're not really talking about men a lot of the time, and so that's quite rare in a play from the early modern period for us to have a scene where that is going on, and that these, because you look at the schema and you look at the title and you think this is going to just be baked in misogyny all the way down the line, but it's being a bit more interesting than that in the shape of things. Back to Susan. I think Aliki also.
Well, it's just coming up is things like The Provoked Wife, which has I've played that wife, had most wonderful scenes between the Aramintas and those sisterhoods, and there's something there. That widow is not as nice as all that, is she really? I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
No, well, as I already said, I think she's a bit of a psycho. What I do really like about this, though, is the fact that she's driving the plot, and that's quite rare, and that she's doing this off her own bat. She's not doing it in league with anyone else. There's no man involved. Well, I mean, there is a man involved, but only because she makes him involved. Like, she's like, right, how can I get me some tribulation? Oh, I know, I'll marry some completely worthless chap, and then he'll fritter away all my money, and then I get to have some trauma. Brilliant. Right, let's do that.
But don't you think
you'll do?
In some way she's got confidence from that relationship with the clown? This is what I mean. There are relationships to be had with the male species that do not encompass all the other stuff, and that give confidence to women, or are some kind of protection, some kind of emboldening relationships.
Don't know about that, honestly.
Friends.
I mean, I think she has a great relationship with herself.
Yeah, I get the impression the clown just bounces off.
Yeah, the clown exactly.
Yeah.
The clowns are responding to that, but I think that's so rare in these early texts. It's quite fascinating. Yeah.
Aliki, then Lynn.
I mean, she does relieve her friend's problem by marrying Stephen. But yeah, mostly what I was saying is what I said in the chat. You did say almost meets the Bechdel test. Of course, the Bechdel test requires 2 named characters, female, and I'm not even sure we have one. I mean, somebody calls her Xanthippe at some point, and I don't know if that's her name. Or
No, that's not her name. No.
An allusion to Socrates' wife. He's
yes, that dreadful woman.
Yeah. In fact, there's another classical allusion that I wanted to point out. It's just a footnote, but that there's a bit where there's a reference to tittere twos, and that's actually the opening line, I think, of the eclogues. Titterus you reclining under the shade of this tree, but it's also in this period it's a term for swaggerers, roaring boys, all that lot. They're sometimes called tittere twos because I guess they sometimes quoted that line at each other.
They had a better quality of rascal in those days.
Yeah.
Lynn.
I guess the widow is also really trying to sort of regulate her level of tribulation because she says, okay, I'll marry this wastrel. He'll spend all my money. That will distress me.
Then what?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, we've just lost that thought completely. Hopefully, Lynn will come back again. Are you there, Lynn?
I think so.
Excellent. You did wobble a bit, but have another go at that.
He said my internet was unstable, and then when it closed,
yeah.
Anyway, so she's trying to manipulate the situation where her husband will spend all her money, and they'll be poor, and that will be not good, and she'll have some suffering in her life. But I noticed that she makes him promise to be faithful. So that you have to be a good husband in the way, or faithful in the way of marriage, or true, or whatever the word she uses. So she'll have the financial distress, but she won't have the emotional distress of her husband cheating on her. So,
and I suspect there's an awful lot of cosplaying poverty here. You know, I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure she won't give him access to all. You know, there'll be something frittered away. I get the impression there is a certain deviousness to any level of psychopathy that we may be ascribing to this particular person. Lois.
Yeah, I think it's rather odd that he replies to that about being faithful, to more or less saying he doesn't really have all that much sexual appetite. You know, he likes drinking and he likes gambling, but he doesn't need all that much. I mean, a bit about flesh obviously is ambiguous, but he may just be lying. But it's unusual for men to talk like that about themselves.
Okay. Francis, I'm sure you waved ages ago, and I totally missed that.
Oh no, it was before. That was before our last break.
Oh right. Yeah. Okay, well, we're into final thoughts territory now. We've done, I say, 3 scenes, chunky scenes. I mean, the big material. It's a long play, though I think it moves reasonably fast, which makes life a little easier. But there will be a discussion at the end of going, okay, well, we might need to chop 30 minutes out of this, and therefore there might be 10 minutes out of this we need to take out. I think there is some room for manoeuvre for trimming a few bits and pieces here. I'm not suggesting all of the clown should go, but maybe we should make some decisions about the clown. But then I've been proved wrong about clowns before in the past, so that's perfectly reasonable. So, final thoughts about the play so far. We're only a third of the way through, so there's a lot of potential for things to go better and go wrong. Thoughts and fears. You don't have to have too many thoughts. It's entirely up to you. Aaron, any final thoughts?
I'm really enjoying just looking at it through the lens that Sarah suggests, where the widow is kind of a crazy old woman. I think it's interesting in light of what we read last week, where we had a guy who was trying to marry, an older widower who was trying to marry younger and play the part of a young man, and he was treated as a completely ridiculous and pitiable character. And now we have the opposite, where a woman is basically saying, I can still marry, I can still be young and so on, and it's treated as fun comedy and lighthearted, and it's a lot of, it's more amusing. So I'm kind of looking at it through that lens, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Yes. Just no, I don't know if it's turned up in the text yet, but just a note: the widow is 37. This is stated at some point. It has turned up. I wasn't sure if it had or not. But
Okay,
I mean,
so it's not old. She's still okay.
Yeah, experienced. Susan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm loving your comments that we're getting close to restoration. I mean, we could change the name of the character clown to the fop, and that would be. And I see we have coming up Aldermot thing, Sir Geoffrey Speedwell. These are starting to have names like, Constant and Lady Fidget, and these are starting. Innocent Lambskin we've got coming up, and I'm liking the closeness to their preoccupations is in this play. The same preoccupations. Making a good marriage, not being ripped off, basically.
And within that logic of names having some sort of connection to who the characters are, we should start thinking about what we're going to call, widow psychopath in this, and Mistress Foster. We could give a first name to as well, because I don't think there is a name embedded anywhere. I mean, even the clown gets a name, Roger. So, the production, we need to give him a name at some point. So, Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah. So my concern with, I'm enjoying it too, but my concern with this is that I don't want to spin it too much that the widow is the good wife, because she just puts up with whatever, and Mistress Foster is the scold. Someone describes her as that, like, she's notorious throughout London for what a scold you've married, or what a scold he's. So I mean that was a reflection of the misogyny of the times, that one wasn't supposed to be defiant. She wasn't supposed to scold her husband. She wasn't supposed to be shrewish or bad-tempered. Silence is a virtue. All of that. So I'm kind of hoping this play puts a little pressure on those values, that we're able to portray Mistress Foster as someone who's got a legitimate grievance, and isn't being heard, and the widow as being sort of silly and shallow, and she's always sort of good-natured and everything, and good things happen to her, and she's managed to take her husband's death with equanimity, but I hope we're not asked in the end to
I was trying for that, Lynn. I was trying for that.
And actually, I think the play is, to some degree, playing with that expectation and slightly undermining it, because I genuinely am not finding Mistress Foster actually particularly unreasonable person. I'm not saying it isn't there, and that wouldn't be part of the schema originally, but at the moment, in terms of landing for us today, it doesn't seem to. I'm much more disturbed about the widow than I am about Mistress Foster, who seems perfectly reasonable, and frankly has some terrible friends. But I think that's a very valid thing for us to be worrying and looking out for in the schema as we go forward. Francis, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the play too. I mean, this is my first session in several months, I think, and I was kind of worried we'd have a dud today, but I'm really enjoying it. The characters are very well drawn, apart from Robert and poor Joan. And yeah, the plot cracks along, and it's the text is quite efficient, because, as you say, there's a lot going on, and we've only done 3 scenes. Yeah, I also think you could quite easily stage this for a modern audience, because there's a lot of family dynamics that are very recognizable.
Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what's got me confused to a certain extent is trying to basically put people into age ranges. From the opening, I thought that Brewen and Old Foster were gentlemen probably in their 50s or thereabouts. But we've got the brother, Stephen, who is, I think at one point is described as being young by the widow. And if someone who is the only one we have a definitive age for of 37, his brother is therefore going to be mid-30s at best. And Robert, from the way he's portrayed, is probably early 20s. So I think there are some interesting questions to be addressed by production.
Yeah, I don't know. The age range between the two brothers could be quite extreme. I mean, you know, if you know, people had a lot of children over a long period of time, if they were lucky in life. So, you know, he could be late 20s, early 30s, as opposed to a son who's, you know, maybe only 16 or something. So he could still be someone that Robert would look up to, but still be in relative terms relatively young. So yeah, I think there is a certain amount of thought needs to go into that kind of logic. We shall see. Rachel, any final thoughts?
Yeah, as I've been saying in the chat, I'm just interested in this as an interesting variation on widow remarriage plots. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's like we have been here before, but not quite in this way, and it is interesting. Lois, any final thoughts?
I'm enjoying it as well, and I'm not sure about the age range. I mean, I think Stephen could be older. I mean, in his 30s, he seems to be incorrigible. I can't make out, is he really the older brother? I thought he must be the younger brother.
He's the younger brother, yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of it, isn't it? That he doesn't really he's not inheriting anything. And that's probably why he hasn't married before now, because he hasn't got any money and he doesn't expect to have any. And I think Robert could be a teenager. In fact, that would explain his extreme differential nature to, you know, his idea of the family and loyalty to relatives and all that. I'm just waiting for a younger woman to appear who can be paired off with him at the end.
Oh, well, you know, we shall see. We shall see. I mean, that would explain also why Robert is... I mean, it's not that he's stupid. He could just be very young. And that would fit. So actually making him in that teenager rather than young man sort of territory would fit that. So that he's not just handed the idiot ball every 5 minutes. You know, that there is a little older family member hero worship that he's doing. Briefly back to Lynn.
Yeah, I you know, the way I envision it is that Stephen's the fun uncle. His dad's a little bit of a stick in the mud, and his uncle's always been, you know, fun and friendly. You know, they have fun together, and so he's genuinely fond of him, I think. Yeah,
I'm definitely thinking for rehearsals for this, after the first week of just figuring out the play a bit, is that you do improvisation of the Foster Christmas, because I think that would be really quite fun, and just to get the dynamic, you know, that's where you do your improvisation, and you just get those family dynamics sorted out in a context that the cast would understand. And I think that, you know, or if you're, you know, in America, do Thanksgiving, you know, that sort of logic of get them around the table and just get everyone eating food and just seeing what terrible things happen. And what awful arguments you get, and how drunk does Stephen get in a corner, and you know, that sort of logic. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yes, I am liking this play a lot. I mentioned it already, but I'm very, very interested in the widow's agency. I'm very interested in her as a potential comic character. I think it would be. I take Lynn's point about, you know, is this meant to be a sort of, you know, straightforward contrast between the good woman who you know, is always happy and never complains, and the scold who always complains, and of course you could definitely play it that way, but I think I'm not seeing anything in the dialogue so far in fact, the dialogue is pushing me the other way. Like I say, the fact that I thought she was a psychopath, I didn't just get that from nowhere. I mean, okay, I do have a slightly twisted imagination, but it was the text that made me think that in the first place. And I don't think you don't have to struggle at all to put a different interpretation on it. And whether that's deliberate, I'm not sure. I can't tell, or whether it's just a happy coincidence, but I think you could have this could be a great play for comic women, because I think she could be really funny, and I also think Mistress Foster could be really funny, not necessarily in the way of, oh, she's meant to be a scold funny, but actually she's just, the poor woman is just so beleaguered and everything just keeps happening to her, and she's just like, oh my god, she that, in the hands of a deft comedian, I think that could also be a really funny and actually very endearing character, and a brilliant contrast with this kind of slightly scary widow. I think she should be called Narcissa, by the way.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah,
but just bouncing off your thought there of the production can really play up the good luck bad luck thing.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
Props break, things fall off walls.
Yes,
everything goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's always ding. Oh, isn't
Yeah.
this lovely? Oh, thank
Mrs.
you.
Foster was caught on a loose floorboard or something.
Yeah, heels break.
Wonderful.
All of those things.
Absolutely.
And that can just amp if there's a scene that's flagging, you just think, what sight gag can we throw in?
Yes.
What thing can we? What element can we throw in? I really like that of just and just actually how annoying that must be for everyone else when she just keeps coming up with rope and everything else is just like, Susan.
Really, I do think the best way to comedy, the greatest comedy to watch when you think of comedic characters, one clear line of through line of intent, like, Mrs. Malaprop trying to speak correctly, like one clear gag, one is lucky, one is unlucky, is the way to great comedy, because you've got something very definite the audience can get hold of from the beginning, and then you can add all those Robert Crighton things on top.
I just have this image that the widow has set up a ladder, opens an umbrella indoor, does all the unlucky things, and nothing happens, and then the Mistress Foster walks in and a bucket of water falls on her head, and it's just like she's trying the bad luck to happen to her, and it just keeps not happening, and it's just she walks in and boom.
Good.
But you could swamp the production with too much of that. So let's
Never.
let's continue throwing ideas around. Aliki, any final thoughts?
Like everyone else, I'm really enjoying this. I agree with Sarah, the potential of the Mistress there. That last scene in her "Oh My Heart" was really quite lovely, and both comic and endearing, and I can see her doing that. Yeah.
Well, we have 2 more sessions to continue to unpack this history play that is so very engaged with the process of history. It's clearly just a comedy, isn't it? But anyway, it's set in the past, so therefore it's history. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. I will piss upon thy threshold.